What's going on, Junkie Nation? Gorgeous George and Goes checking in again. Ryan Bader joins us here on the program. The accolades this man has is too long to list, but he's been a champ in multiple weight classes. He even took down Tough about 15 years ago. Title defenses, different promotions, successes. Now, I guess technically under Bellator still, but part of the PFL. How you doing, Ryan? What a career you've amassed, man.
No, thank you. Yeah, I'm doing well. Yeah, just kind of tail end of camp for this champ versus champ fight card, and feeling great.
And I started looking just all the skins on your wall. So many fighters that have worn gold under major promotions. You got some Hall of Famers. Um, and Renan Ferreira, respect, man. He's a stud. This is going to be a good one. But what else do you want to accomplish before you're done, aside from this fight and, going forward?
I mean, for me, it doesn't really matter. I have my goals and kind of long-term goals and all that. And as a double or two division champion, won the Grand Prix, beat Fedor to win that. That was a big highlight. But at the end of the day, I'm just a competitor. I mean, the titles, yeah, they mean something because it means that you kind of reach that pinnacle, but I don't stress about that or anything like that. Kind of cliche, but minor goal right now is go out there and beat Renan. And although it's not a PFL belt or Bellator belt we're fighting for, they got their own deal going on, their own special belt or whatnot. But you can walk away from that with a win and say, hey, pretty much a PFL heavyweight champ also. But yeah, for me, it's, at 40-something fights, it's just going out there and winning these big fights. This fight came around and it was something that was new and exciting, champ versus champ. And so that got me excited, got me motivated. When I did those Grand Prix in Bellator, moved up a weight division, that got me excited. And so I'm kind of looking at kind of those kind of fights, potential Ngannou fight, at this point in my career.
16 years ago, did you think you were going to fight till you were 40? And that by that I mean when you won Ultimate Fighter.
No, not really. Yeah, I mean, if you asked me back then, probably not. It's just one of those deals where, when you're 25 and you think about 40, you're like, oh, I'm going to be an old man, this and that. I feel better now than I did when I was 25. We train smarter. I have the experience. I've been in there. I've been through everything, and my body feels good. I have no major injuries or really minor ones, and I think that's a testament to just being smart in training and being consistent. I'm not one of these guys that I'll fight and then I'll be gone for 2 months and you won't see me. I think that's kind of when, those injuries kind of happen and you're trying to do a crash course, in your training camp, and so for me, it's kind of make it part of my lifestyle. I've been doing it since I was 7 years old, always training, wrestling, playing football, being an athlete. And then that just kind of transitioned easily into MMA.
John Elway used to say after he retired that every Monday he felt like he had been in a car crash because obviously he played mostly on Sundays as a quarterback. How about you, man? What do you think when you're done? Or what do you feel like, I guess, on Sunday? Because most fighters practice Monday to Saturday. You don't fight every week, but you do train pretty much every day. But you mentioned you've been wrestling since 7, man. What do you wake up with a lot of aches and pains? Are you an ice bath guy too? I'm going to ask as well.
Yeah. So I don't know. I feel pretty fortunate. Yeah, like this last couple of weeks because this is kind of the time in camp where everything catches up. All the work you've been putting in. Just had 2 really hard weeks and then finished this hard week out. Y'all start to taper down now. So yeah, like this last week I was feeling a little bit, but nothing that's not manageable, and yeah, I have my things. A couple years ago, my shoulders were hurting kind of real bad. I was having a lot of training camps back to back, but those kind of healed up. I'm feeling great. And yeah, when you're putting in work in a training camp, at a certain point, you're going to be sore and tired. But we've got this down. We've done it 40-something times where I know I'm going to feel good fight time. I'm going to take a little time off. It's one of those deals too, where like after a fight, I usually get right back in, but I do a little lighter and not, really training hard for 2 weeks. I'm like, oh, this is how my body's supposed to feel. I have energy. I feel good. But man, I feel great. It's just a number, I'm 40 years old, but like I said, I feel just as good as I did when I was a kid.
Are you an ice bath guy at all, or how do you recover?
Oh yeah. Yeah, probably the only thing, the only recovery deal I really do is an ice bath, and I'll do some kind of Epsom salt baths here and there. But I ended up getting one at my house a couple of years ago, and I got it. To your point, I was feeling kind of a little sore, tired a little bit. So even though we're in Arizona, it's chilly here. It's 40 something. It's raining. Pain in the ass to get in, but I got in, feeling good. But that's really all I need recovery wise. I'll do that. I eat healthy. I try to eat healthy outside of camp too, and I just feel like that has helped in my longevity. And then definitely being smarter in training. Coming from a wrestling background, to just grind. You're tired, do some more. And we did that early in my career, a lot of sparring and all that. Where now, you won't catch me sparring at all unless it's in training camp. And we still are pretty safe about that too. It's really just making it to the fight, because I know with my experience and everything I have, get to the fight feeling great, I can perform.
Ryan, when we look at your career, like George said, it seems like you've been able to make the best out of every situation you've ever been in. And we see so many accolades, so many things that you've done right. I guess looking back on it, are there any moments that you look on and you regret or wish you would have done something else that would have taken you in a different direction? Because this is a career that I think a lot of people aspire to have.
Yeah, I mean, there's always regrets here and there. There's regrets on losses. I remember, the one loss to Anthony Johnson. We had a game plan, and I threw that out the window, and I just, it just wasn't a good fight. Wasn't a good headspace right there. And I told myself after that, I put a lot of pressure on myself. I was like, all right, let's just break it down. Let's just have fun and enjoy the process. You're not going to be doing this forever. Enjoy each fight. Don't make it bigger than what it is, because that's a problem with a lot of guys is handling their anxiety in fights, and more so pre-fight, So I got to the point where it's not like I didn't care, but I'm like, hey, we're going to go out there and do it. I've trained the best of my ability. Whatever happens in that cage happens, and I'm going to have fun doing it. And after that, my mindset really changed, and went on a huge run, and had my losses in there and whatever. But, just being consistent and yeah, I mean, it's one of those deals where I don't look in the past too often, and I feel like with this fight coming up too, it's just looking at my resume, who I've fought, what I've been through, 5-round fights, title fights, all that. It isn't there for him.
Ryan, you came, if MMA were like a book, right? It's got many chapters, and you probably have a chapter with a bunch of other people where you came in a group of wrestlers.
Yeah.
And what I feel like you guys did was you not only changed the landscape of mixed martial arts, but you changed the landscape of wrestling in college. I think the conversation amongst those wrestlers gave them another avenue after they were done wrestling where they could say, I have something else I can go do. And it kind of all became one giant process. You did that for a lot of people. Have you ever looked back and reflect that not just yourself, but a lot of these other wrestlers, what you guys did for collegiate wrestling and giving them life after wrestling?
Yeah, thanks. We had some wrestlers beforehand. I remember I was watching, my ASU coach and fellow UFC guy, Aaron Simpson. He was good friends with Josh Koscheck, and so when I was wrestling in college, we were watching him on The Ultimate Fighter, and kind of thinking, hey man, this might be a route we can take. I didn't have aspirations to try for the world team or try to go to the Olympic route. I've been wrestling my whole life. I was burnt out, done with wrestling. And then I had guys like Cain Velasquez on my team, CB Dalloway, and various other guys that made the UFC. And I just felt like we were at the right place at the right time. You guys had like Dan Severn and all that kind of came before, but MMA wasn't the MMA it is today. The money wasn't there. The opportunities weren't there. So, when we had the opportunity to say, hey, I'm not done competing. I don't want to wrestle anymore. I don't want to go the Olympic route. There's this other avenue, mixed martial arts, and Cain was all about it right away. I was on the fence, and I was like, I'm kind of burnt out. 4 years of wrestling, 5 years, redshirt year in college. maybe I don't want to go work out with somebody telling me what to do. I miss that competitiveness right away. 2 months in, I was like, all right, I'm going to go train a little bit, and kind of all went from there. And nowadays, good college wrestlers have the avenue to go, hey, I can go make some money, in mixed martial arts. I can go to professional wrestling. I can do these different things, and especially those top tier wrestlers, and they can make a great living. And I only think it's going to get better, as the years go on.
I want to talk a little bit about your opponent. This is a guy that I think a lot of people don't give as much credit as he deserves. It's a very tough fight. But he's a kind of a quiet dude, and sometimes we've heard fighters say, look, when a guy talks a little trash or something, it kind of gets me even more fired up. At the end of the day, what is it that kind of gets you fired up? And sometimes we'll see you do that scream. Where does all that come from, and what kind of motivates you here at this point?
Yeah, I mean, the shit talking, all that kind of stuff doesn't really motivate me. I'm just motivated being competitive, I'm not in the sport to, I like to hurt people, I want to fight, I want to do this. I like to compete. It's a game to me. It's a competition, and they usually do like that, little scream when I get out there. It's kind of, I do that in preparation, like the last couple of weeks when we're about to spar. It just gets me going. It gets me in the mindset, like, all right, here it is. It's finally here. Training's done. The real deal is going on right now, and we're ready. And so it's just competition. I want to win everything. I'm competitive in all aspects of life, and just having to be good at fighting, through wrestling and all that, and the work I put in. And it's just an avenue for me to compete, really. And what motivates me is just winning everything that's in front of me. Yes, I do have longer goals, and that used to be like, winning a title, and then it's holding on to a title. And now it's just winning every single fight in front of me. And now we get a cool new experience with the champ versus champ kind of deal, and that motivates me a lot, because I loved when in Bellator came over, I was looking for something new. And then Bellator was new. And then the Grand Prix were new, going up to heavyweight and trying out a new weight class. I have fun with those certain types of things. That motivates me and kind of reinvigorates me a lot. And it's the same with this champ versus champ deal.
You can't get to this level where you're at without being focused. And I know you're focused on your opponent, but you probably get asked a lot about Francis Ngannou and the presence that he has right now in our sport. Can you share with us, is there even kind of a small percentage of you that's already sat down and said, this is how I would tackle this type of matchup and how you feel about it?
Yeah, for sure. Perfect world for me. I go out there, beat Renan. And then, Ngannou does his thing with Joshua, and then, he comes back to the sport of MMA, and I don't see who else he would fight besides me, So, yeah, it's definitely, ran through my head for sure. I think it's no secret of what a game plan would be. You're trying to go out there, trying to, get him down on the ground, tire him out a little bit, take some snap off his punches, and kind of go that route. But yeah, you're always looking forward to what could potentially be next, but you got to do that thing in front of you too.
What about Linton Vassell? I know you beat him once. It was in a different weight class,
Yeah.
but I felt like he earned his next title shot. Like, he went out there and did some work, much like you did when you went up. I really was looking forward to that one. Of course, I'd love to see you fight Ngannou as well. But is Linton on your radar, or will there be maybe another name after Ngannou, or what are you thinking, I guess, in regards to that one?
Yeah, absolutely. That was one of the deals where, we were scheduled to fight. He ended up pulling out like kind of the week of, so I had a full camp and all that. I was prepared. It was one of those times too when uncertainty was happening, with Bellator, what's going to happen. PFL was coming in. It was kind of rumors. We didn't know either. And then when I did not, when that fight was officially off, I was like, man, when am I going to fight again? Am I going to fight in May this next year? There's going to be a year, while they process everything that's going on with the merger. So when this February thing came about, I was pretty excited. But yeah, he's definitely want to, get that fight, and if it's, if Ngannou's boxing and if he's not coming back right away, I think that logically would be the next fight to make at heavyweight. It was already scheduled, didn't happen. He's been on a tear at heavyweight. I think he won his last 5 fights at heavyweight. And I like that fight too, because, that type of fight is one that, like our first fight right away, just crazy fight. We're going at it, high intensity, and he just ended up making a mistake, and so that's the kind of fight that's a fun fight for me.
Can a fighter of your caliber make a decent living when you don't fight? Like, what's the sponsorship game like now? Back in after Tough, when you did your run, it had really blown up. It was kind of booming around that time.
Yeah.
And then, of course, a lot of these apparel makers kind of took over, and even PFL announced something recently. But you haven't fought in a year, and you did put in that camp. Camps cost money. But what's it like nowadays? Can a fighter make a decent living with sponsorship or whatever support from your people, even if you're not fighting? Is that a healthy landscape nowadays?
I get paid very well from Bellator, where I don't have to fight. I can fight once a year and be, make way more than enough. But sponsorships, back in the day, like you were talking about, tap out sponsorships, they pay you $5 to $10 grand monthly, and all. You had different ones. It kind of definitely dried up. I do have some monthly sponsors that I have currently, but I try to kind of diversify stuff and different kind of businesses, battle bars. That we have a tequila company we're invested in that it's one of the top tequilas in the world right now. I have a bar here in Scottsdale. So I don't like to just stay in my lane of MMA. Kind of like to get out and do different stuff, because MMA is one of those sports where you could be done after every single fight, and so but sponsorship wise, there's some around, and we've had good sponsors. They're huge companies, $1 billion companies, and so even though they're not really getting a ROI on their money, we've been with them for 15 years now. They support us, we support them, but in general, that whole avenue of making money has really, really dried up.
Man, that sucks, because back in the day, I think a sponsor could get behind a fighter because the fighter was a well-known product. And then all of a sudden the sport grew so much that it became either about the promotion or just that weekend's card. Like, no one focuses on fighters and having a favorite fighter and then cheering for that fighter and backing him through highs and lows. You know what I'm saying?
100%, and on these companies, and also you're looking at it and you're like, okay, I'm spending this much. What am I getting in return? Nowadays it's all over the place. Influencers, all that kind of stuff. And unless you're kind of like a Kim Kardashian, are you really moving the needle also? And so that's where I think kind of like a lot of these companies, especially like apparel brands and all that kind of stuff, they come in and they want to see it right away. And they're not, but they are getting the brand out there. They're getting brand awareness and all that kind of stuff. And so I see it from both sides. Obviously, as fighters, want the most money coming in as we can, and that's why we try to align ourselves with, it's oddball sponsors, like the ethanol business and Sanford Health and all that kind of stuff. And they're huge, huge companies. And we just built this relationship with them where they're like, we might not be getting anything in return. We like you guys. Here's some money.
Got it. Let's finish with the tequila. Did you say you're an ambassador or actually an investor in it?
Yeah, we invested in it, early. We were the first investors, really. It's Casa Comos, kind of high-end premium tequila, and yeah, they're doing really well. I think last year they did $35 million as their fourth year. So it's really good tequila, and I've had other investments that have been duds and whatnot, but you just got to find the one.
Say the name again. What is it?
Comos, Komos.
Comos.
Yeah.
Okay, Comos. I'll have to remember that one.
Gotta try some.
Yeah, that's good. That's great stuff that you're involved in that, man. Very cool.
Thank you,
Ryan. So listen, you heard the whole thing, but seriously, man, you're a legend of the sport. Hope you have a great camp, whatever's left. travel to Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. It sounds like that place is blowing up when it comes to sports in general, especially combat sports. And then this merger, it just kind of reminds us of WEC and UFC, Pride UFC, and all the other stuff we've heard in the past. I think this is going to be really, really good. It's going to be some quality matchups for all you guys, and I hope you get that Ngannou fight too, man. Big payday awaits whoever fights Ngannou.
Yeah.
And I still consider him the baddest man on the planet. I mean, I don't know about you or whatever, but here's one thing I did want to ask you. How, we talked about Linton. How do you think you and Jones would go now?
Yeah, I think it would definitely be a different fight. Jones has proven himself over and over again. I feel like he's the best fighter in the world. But my mentality from when what it was back then, basically, a kid new to the sport, definitely be a different fight for sure. Who knows the outcome, but that would be a fun one. I got to run a few back in various rematches, undefeated in rematches, and that would be one of the fights that you can go in and kind of see how far you've grown. From whenever that fight happened, 2011 or something, to 2024, that'd be something very, very cool.
Both at heavyweight, except, man, in the last 10 years, you've really got that one-hitter quitter type power. Jones, awesome resume. I don't want to disparage him at all, but if he lacks one thing, it's the one-hitter quitter. I mean, he's got an arsenal.
Yeah.
You take your lights out with, a shin to the head or whatever. But in heavyweight, when you can crack, like I say, you really develop those hands. I think this would be a different fight. And I'm not picking a winner, but I hope I see it one day before you guys retire.
Yeah, me too. That would be a fun one, who knows how it all works out, that's what's kind of cool about this one we have coming up. It's promotion versus promotion, and that's what the fans kind of really want to see. They always talk about, how would this guy do if he went over to UFC or UFC fought a Bellator champ, this and that, so they're fun fights. And, I wish we could do that, kind of like, once every couple of years where they're like, all right, everybody put up their best guy. Let's see what happens, and we are doing that, with PFL and Bellator. But I wish that happened more often.
Man, don't kill me, but I got one more.
You're good.
When you were with Chandler and you did Tough, did you ever have any time with Dana? Or whether on that show or at any other time, did he ever tell you, man, we fucked up letting you go just because of everything you've done, man? You like I say, all those titles at Bellator and the defenses and Grand Prix. You ever get that from him or anyone high up in that organization?
Yeah. I heard a few times, and Dana's super cool on that. I was very welcomed, right when we came in, and then after one of the fights, one of his assistants came down while we were at the Apex, and he was like, "Hey, Dana wants to talk to you." In his office. And so we went and kind of just chatted about just everything for about 30 minutes and had a really good conversation, and kind of just about everything, really. Congratulated me on my success, and and talked about old times and all that kind of stuff. Yeah, for sure. When that happened with the UFC, I had one fight left on my career or my contract, and they like to get you signed before that. And we kind of signed that deal, and then kind of knew we were going to go elsewhere. So we signed that deal kind of as a short notice fight with who was it? Nogueira. So we signed that contract, and we're like, all right, we got to do his new contract. And we're like, actually, we're fighting it out. We're gonna leave, and they didn't match it after that. So that's how that kind of went down.
Well, it's all worked out.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you for the time. As always, safe travels to Riyadh. Hope you guys have a great main event there of that card on the 24th, folks. It's a pay-per-view, but it's stacked. 4 title fights, lots of notable names, lots of great matchups. Thanks, Vader, for the time.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys. Talk to you soon.